Hello everyone. In today's video, we are delving into the psychological self-care system, the inner defenses our minds construct to shield us from the overwhelming effects of trauma, particularly the kind we experience early in life. Now, at its core, the self-care system is like an invisible shield, safeguarding our true self, our personal spirit, from being shattered by traumatic experiences. Now imagine your psyche as a fortress. When life throws unbearable pain, anxiety, or chaos your way, especially when you are too young to understand or process it, this fortress activates its defense mechanisms. Now, these aren't just any defenses. They are powerful dissociative tools that help you survive mentally and emotionally. Now, while these defenses keep us safe in the moment, they can become rigid over time, like walls that don't come down even when the threat is gone. Now, this can block us from growing, from connecting, and from truly living. When trauma hits, especially in early childhood, before we have developed a stable sense of self, it triggers what psychologist Heinz Kohut call disintegration anxiety. Now, this is a kind of undefinable dread, the fear that your very sense of who you are could dissolve. To prevent this, our minds mobilize what's known as a second line of defenses. Now, these are like emergency protocols that kick in to keep the unthinkable from being fully felt. Now, to understand how these defenses work, think of dissociation as the psyche's way of compartmentalizing trauma, splitting off unbearable experiences so they don't overwhelm the whole system. Your cognitive awareness, emotions, physical sensations, and even imagery become fragmented. You might have memories with holes in them, emotions disconnected from thoughts, or even gaps in your life story that just don't add up. In dreams and unconscious fantasies, this self-care system often shows up as personified figures, such as protective figures like angels, wise animals, or fairy godmothers, and even as persecutory figures like demons, monsters, or evil doctors. Now, these figures are part of what psychologist Donald Kalsched calls the archetypal self-care system. Now, the protective figures work to shield the vulnerable parts of you, keeping them hidden from further harm. But there's a cost. These parts also become isolated from experiences that could help them heal and grow. On the flip side, the persecutory figures attack any attempt to step out of this protective bubble, viewing hope, need, or connection as dangerous risk of being hurt again. Now, this dynamic reflects what Carl Jung described as the duplex nature of the self archetype. It holds both light and dark, nurturing and terrifying aspects. In trauma, the dark side splits off and becomes an inner tormentor, perpetuating the trauma through self-attack, self-sabotage, and resistance to healing. Now, beyond the realm of dreams, the self-care system subtly but powerfully operates in everyday life. One of its key mechanisms is sealing of memories. Traumatic experiences and emotions get locked away, hidden from conscious awareness. This allows life to move forward, but the unprocessed trauma lingers in the body and the unconscious mind. Another way it functions is disrupting the natural links between thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations, making traumatic experiences difficult to think about or even articulate. It also splits the ego, with one part regressing to an earlier, more infantile state, freezing at the developmental stage where the trauma occurred, while another part matures too quickly, creating a hyper-adapted false self that meets external expectations but suppresses authentic self-expression. This defense system also affects relationships, undermining them by viewing all connections as potential threats. It guards against intimacy and dependency to prevent the risk of being re-traumatized. In addition, it induces dissociation, which might show up as trance-like states, escapist fantasies, addictions, or even psychosomatic symptoms. All these ways to disconnect from an unbearable reality. Now, while these defenses allow for survival, they come with a heavy price. They freeze personality development, leading to issues like fragmented identity, psychosomatic illnesses, addictive behaviors, chronic anxiety, and difficulties with intimacy. The self care system essentially locks us into repetitive patterns that hinder authentic living. Now, this powerful system also explains why therapy can feel like an uphill battle for trauma survivors. Any attempt to reconnect with split of trauma is perceived as a life-threatening event by the self-care system. Hope and trust in the therapeutic process can trigger fears of devastating disappointment or betrayal. Memories and emotions emerging from dissociation can feel overwhelming and disorienting. Yet the self-care system isn't just a barrier. It can also be an ally in healing. If approached with patience and respect, these inner guardian figures can start to trust the therapist, allowing greater access to the hidden parts of the self. Dreams often illustrate this process, showing persecutory figures transforming into protective helpers. Now, navigating this complex inner world in therapy requires a sensitive and strategic approach. Effective trauma treatment doesn't aim to dismantle the self-care system outright, but rather works alongside it, respecting its protective role while gently challenging the rigid isolation it creates. The process begins with establishing safety. Before addressing any traumatic material, therapy focuses on creating a stable, secure environment. This involves meeting basic needs, teaching grounding techniques, and building trust between the therapist and the patient. Working with dreams and imaginations becomes another vital part of the process. Dreams and active imagination provide a window into the unconscious, allowing patients to engage with symbolic images and begin integrating dissociated parts of themselves. Now, because trauma often resides in non-verbal forms, so creative art therapies such as art, music, dance, and drama offers powerful tools to access and process these buried experiences. Now, gradual exposure to traumatic memories is introduced in a carefully paced manner, ensuring that patients are not overwhelmed and can integrate their experiences without re-traumatization. Addressing the split self is also crucial. Therapy validates the vulnerable, childlike parts of the self while encouraging the false, overly adaptive self to relax its defenses. This fosters communication and integration between different self states. Repairing developmental deficits happens through the therapeutic relationship itself. The therapist offers corrective experiences through attunement, mirroring, and the development of secure attachment, helping to heal relational wounds from the past. Finally, therapy expands transitional space, the area between inner and outer realities, restoring a sense of creativity, play, and the ability to symbolize experiences, which is essential for long-term healing. Now, understanding the self-care system provides a roadmap through the labyrinth of trauma. It reveals why healing can be so challenging, but also where the hidden strengths lie. The self-care system, while initially a survival mechanism, can evolve into a resource for growth and self-regulation. Healing from trauma is more than just overcoming pain. It's a sacred process of honoring the human spirit's resilience and capacity for renewal. With the right support, the personal spirit can re-emerge, reconnect, and fully engage with life once again. It's a slow journey, but one that leads to transformation, wholeness, and a renewed sense of vitality.